Do you know how a new plant grows? If you are thinking that plant grows because of seeds, then let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen sugarcane, potato or rose seeds? No, right? Well, there are other interesting ways in which a new plant can grow. We will learn about them in this video. In this video, we will also learn about what is reproduction, what are different modes of reproduction, and what is asexual reproduction. First of all, what is reproduction? The production of new individual from their parents is known as reproduction. Now, this is a very important process. As you know, all the living things will eventually die. Now, if a species does not reproduce before it dies, it will become extinct, right? So, reproduction is very important for the continuation of species. Now, let's learn about some methods of reproduction in plants. We can broadly classify plant reproduction into two categories, that is, asexual and sexual. Asexual reproduction is when a single parent produces offspring, while in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. In asexual reproduction, no seed is produced, but in sexual reproduction, seeds are produced. In asexual reproduction, there is no variation in the offspring, whereas in sexual reproduction, there are variation in the offspring. Now, in this video, we will learn about asexual reproduction. There are four main methods: vegetative propagation, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation. Let us learn about each of them in detail. The first one is vegetative propagation. Have you ever seen a rose plant growing in your garden? How do you think it was planted there? Was it grown from a seed? Well, no, it was grown from a stem. This is an example of vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation is a type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from the vegetative parts of the plant, such as roots, stems, and leaves. Now remember the example of rose. Here, the stem is a vegetative part. In this method, a part of the stem is cut. Now the lower end of the stem cutting is buried in the moist soil. After a few days, this cutting develops new roots and this stem produces a rose flower and converts into a whole new plant. Now, some plants can reproduce by vegetative propagation with the help of leaves or roots. Let us look at an example of vegetative propagation with the help of leaves. Look at this plant here. You can see tiny plants coming out of its leaves, right? This plant is called a bryophyllum. It has buds on the edges of its leaves. When these leaves fall and come in contact with the moist soil, they produce new plants. This is how bryophyllum reproduces with the help of leaves. Now, let us look at an example of vegetative propagation with the help of roots. Have you ever eaten a potato? Do you know which part of the plant it is? It is actually a root that stores food. Interesting, right? When these roots are detached from the parent plant and planted in the soil, they grow little buds called eyes. These eyes or buds grow into new plants. This is how potatoes reproduce with the help of roots. So, till now we have learnt about three types of vegetative propagation that are with the help of stem, leaves and roots. Now let's move to the next method of asexual reproduction known as budding. Budding is another type of asexual reproduction, and this method is common among the species known as yeast. Consider the example of yeast. When it finds favorable conditions, a small bulb-like projection is produced from the yeast cell. This is called the bud. The bud grows gradually and then gets detached from the parent yeast cell. This new cell grows and produces more cells. So, in this way, large number of yeast cells can be multiplied in a short amount of time. Now, let's move to the next method of asexual reproduction called as fragmentation. Have you ever seen green, slimy threads floating on the surface of water in ponds or lakes? You must have seen them. They are actually algae. One of the most common algae is Spirogyra. These plants reproduce with the help of fragmentation. Fragmentation is another type of asexual reproduction in which the parent organism breaks into two or more fragments, as the name suggests. Each fragment grows into a new organism. This method is common in some animals such as starfish and earthworm, but it is also found in some algae such as Spirogyra. Now let's move to the next and the final method of asexual reproduction, that is spore formation. Have you ever seen white or black spots on the bread or cheese that have been left for too long? I am sure you must have. Do you know what they are? They are actually fungi, which are the organisms that feed on dead or decaying organic matter. They reproduce through spore formation. Spore formation is another type of asexual reproduction in which the parent organism produces spores. These spores are lightweight and can float in air. Each spore is covered by a hard protective coat to withstand unfavorable conditions such as high temperature and low humidity. So, they can survive for a long time. Under favorable conditions, a spore germinates and develops into a new individual. This method is most commonly observed in fungi like bread mold. To summarize, we have learned that plants can reproduce by asexual methods, namely vegetative propagation, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation. Asexual reproduction is fast and easy but results in no variations. We hope that you have understood the concept of asexual reproduction in plants. Now here is a secret on how you can study effectively with the EduRev app. You can learn with chapter notes, watch video lectures, and solve NCERT-based MCQ tests of this chapter on EduRev. And that's not all. You can also get amazing courses for class 7th and much more for your class 7th preparation. Thank you.